Thank you so much for being interested in my work. In this video I share with you my techniques and tips on how I achieve a skin tone study using sticks or pencils. So be sure to watch it right through till the end, because here and there I'll be slowing things down in real time so you can take a closer look. So let's dive in and take a look. Now the area is 64 inches and each study is 2.5 inch square. Now the colours I'm using is a warm red, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and different tints of them colours, a green and white, and for the dark areas I've got dark green, brown, blue and cold red. Starting off, adding that little bit of highlighting to start with, and then using the permanent red tint and then the yellow ochre tint, putting that in, and then using a light green to desaturate it. All looks a bit messy when you first start, but just laying that colour in, just filling that tooth of the pastel mat up with pigment, using brown and red for the shadow areas to start with, and then using the red and the dark green to create natural shadow because it's complementary, and then continuing with the pink. So just laying the basic sort of structure of colours, just putting these blocks of colours in, so it's like a blocking stage. I'm just trying to get the value, something like the chroma and the tint, so all I'm doing is focusing on that and just laying in this structure. You've just got to persevere and play with this and just be patient, because it does come together eventually. It's just a case of building these layers up and playing with the colours. It just don't happen straight away. You've just got to keep playing with it. Sometimes you have to put them a little bit darker than you need, then when you lighten it up it becomes the right shade. So it's a case of knowing what will come later, but that comes with experience. It's just a matter of getting that pigment down, and then you can play with it and move it around. Now using sticks can be quite overwhelming because they're not sort of come together straight away. You have to sort of keep like adjusting it and playing with the colours. So you've just got to have faith and just keep building it up. It will come eventually. Now I'm just moving that stick in small circles and squiggles just to create a little bit of texture, because skin tone isn't smooth. There's all sorts of different sort of marks and squiggles and dots and all sorts, so I'm just changing it up with the sort of application of it. Now for the shadows there I'm using dark green and cold red. The blues I'm putting in because it's a cooler shadow. If you warm light you tend to get a cooler shadow, so you put your warm red in there and then just add that bit of blue, creates a colder red, and then when you add green to it and red it becomes a similar colour to what you're looking for. It's just a matter of just keep playing with these complementary colours. I'm putting that pink in here and over top of that sort of greeny colour, which creates the subtleties I'm looking for. It's a case of just keep playing, moving things around. The key thing with these is to keep centered by opening your heart, let the reference image come into you rather than going out to yourself and focusing too much on details. Just see the colors, open your eyes to see the colors, squint your eyes to see the values, and all I'm interested in really is to try and get that sort of chroma, temperature, value and colour at this stage. The details will be coming in later on in this video, but it's just getting that sort of basic structure in. I'm blending all these colours together now using a paper stump, very small circles, just creating that softness and mix it in. So I'm pushing and pulling the pigment around and then adjust it accordingly. Very light pressure, use a finger as well. It's just a combination of the two, and just keep wiping that tip as well. It's very important, so you don't sort of muddy the colour. So every time you use the stump, gain a habit of just wiping it with a bit of tissue. just in the shadows here using the brown. Just making everything sort of a reasonable shade to what I'm looking for before I start putting the details in with the pencils. Using that stump again, just moving things around makes all the difference. Here's a selection of pencils I'll be using for the details. Colours what the sticks are without the tinted versions of pencils. If you wanted to create a loose feel to your work, just carry on with the sticks and don't use the pencils. But it just felt right for me at this stage just to add these little details in with the pencils. It's the same colours I've used with the sticks, but it makes it more accessible, you know, you've got a finer point. So I'm not doing anything different to what I did before with the sticks, but it's a little bit more easier, you see, with using the pencils. So I would suggest doing that for the final touches and subtleties. If you're enjoying this video, why not subscribe? It's absolutely free, and then you're sure not to miss any of my future videos. Using the Faber-Castell white for these really highlights, and then using the combination again of the primaries, which are, you know, your red, your blue and your yellow, and mixing all those together to create those subtle blends. And just moving your pencil very sort of jaggedy and just creating that texture. Just let it flow from you. So I don't think about putting these details in, they just sort of develop. Just slowing it down to show you how I do the freckles. I start off with the red, getting that sort of area mapped in. Just mapping out these freckles. I don't try and do them exactly the same, but then I just go over them with green to desaturate it. Makes it a darker skin tone then. And then sometimes I put a little bit of yellow ochre on as well, it depends if it needs it. But what that does is just create a natural sort of darker skin value really. I'm not pressing on the pencil at all, I'm just letting it sort of just scrape across the surface. Because the pastel mat's got a grit and it just takes the pigment off as it needs it, but I'm not putting no pressure at all on the pencil. A little tip here is to twist the pencil. You know, when it's really bright you have to put a bit of pressure on, but you just let it twist off, let the tooth of the pastel mat grab the pigment from the pencil, and you'll find you'll get a really sharp highlight. Always keep a connection to the reference image, open your heart, allow that feeling of that person to come into you, out of your hands, into your work. The more you do that, the more it'll just happen for you, the details will take care of themselves. Now for the pencils, starting with the underdrawing, these are the dark colours I'll be using, plus the white, and these are the basic colours I use. Ghosting the outline with a Faber-Castell kneadable eraser. Going in with the white then, just more pressure where it's whiter or lighter, less pressure where it's mid-tone, and then going over with red, yellow ochre and then blue. The reason why I do an underdrawing is to create the outline, because usually I do it freehand, and shape everything up. So I'm not interested at this point in getting the values right, the chroma, any of that. It's just a matter of just getting everything in the right place and the shapes right, and that's all this is for. But I am practicing with the colours and playing with different shades and seeing what is needed, because how I'm doing this is how I put the details over the top of the rich colour stage, just using these primary colours and secondary colours to subtle everything up. So the practice you do with this comes in handy for when you're doing the final details. If you're enjoying this video, why not give it a like and share it with your friends? It would mean so much to me, as this would help the channel to grow. Right, here's the colours I use from the Caran d'Ache. All they are is pre-mixed flesh tints, as shadow ones and the normal tints. The same combination of colours I use, but they're mixed for you. And also the standard colours I use to mix them colours, but it just makes it easier to use these pre-mixed ones to start with. That's what I tend to do now when I'm doing these pencil portraits. Now the rich colour stage is still a block-in, but you're just putting richer colours in there, more closer to what you're looking for. So you're trying to get the value right, the chroma, the temperature, and all the sort of subtleties like the edges and details will be put in later on this video. But for now, all I'm doing is blocking in. Similar to what I did with the big sticks, but I'm using the pencils. It's just getting everything into the right place. But because of these pre-mixed colours, it makes it easier. And then I'm using the same combination as well with brown and red, and also adding that blue. So I'm adding those other colours that I normally use to mix those pre-colours over the top, which creates the subtleties. So it's just a quick way to get the colour down first and then just change it up. But it's a good idea to do portraits with just basic colours and mixing your own, so you get used to knowing how to change the flesh tones then, and you can change it to whatever subtlety you like once you know how to use that basic combination, which is yellow ochre, ultramarine blue and a warm red. Just like to take this opportunity to thank all my patrons for all their wonderful support every month. I can't thank you enough. If you're interested in joining me on Patreon and like the benefit of longer, slower and more in-depth videos, please check out the link in the description below. Now all my videos I put on there now is all in real-time audio, real-time video, so you really get an in-depth look at how I do it, and I talk through the procedure step by step as I proceed. So if you want to check that out after the video, the link is in the description below for more details. Just slowing it down so you can see how I'm using these pencils here. It's just very steadily, just building it up slowly but surely, adding that texture, little squiggles here and there, but then I'm glazing over the top with lemon yellow to create the chroma. Sort of makes colours glow really. Now I didn't need to do that, which was interesting on the stick side of things. I didn't use lemon yellow, so because I think the colours in the pigment were slightly different, they were more richer to start with. If you're interested in knowing how I use complementary colours to create shadows, I have got a free class for you. It's Portraits Colour Wheel, but I mean this sort of principle applies to everything you do really, landscapes, seascapes, pets. So it's free for you. The link is in the description below if you wish to have it, and it's a complete free class. Just slowed it down there for you just to see how I did the freckles again, just using a bit of yellow ochre here as well in places, which I didn't show you in the last study. But then adding that bit of blue and to create a cooler colours around it, so you can get really interesting variation and colour harmonies using these primaries over the top. It's amazing how many different subtleties there are when you really look. Now the Carbothello white is very chalky white, which I use to blend with as well, very light pressure, and it just tints everything then, and then you can just add a little bit more colour if you need to, but it just softens everything around it rather than using a stump. You'll notice I've not used a stump with the pencils because there's not enough pigment to move around. It lifts the pigment off too much if I use the stump on the pencils, so that's why I tend to just sort of stick pencil over pencil. Occasionally I do use an earbud, which I'll show you later on in this video how I subtle things up with that. I think the pencil approach really would suit a beginner better because you're actually mapping everything out with the underdrawing, where the actual stick one is actually, it's a bit overwhelming. It can be if you're not sure how to mix the colours. So I would suggest doing it with the pencils to start with, then having a go with the sticks later on once you know how to mix up these colours subtly. But it's very subtly done really. It's very small layer after layer, so what you're doing is constantly adding that white or lighter colour, the glazing over the top again with different shades, and then changing it up with a tint, then glazing over again and then tinting it again. I mean, this Carbothello white here I'm using here is brilliant for that, because it's titanium white, which is ideal for tinting. And then you just keep glazing over and changing it up. That's the only way to do it. It all happens by itself eventually. At this stage I'm looking in the mirror a lot just to see how it's looking, just see it from a different angle. You can take a photograph with your camera, take it into a different room, keep coming back to it and keep adjusting it. But it will come together eventually. All this is done very easily really if you just connect to your heart, if you just let go of thinking and trying to control it and let it flow from your heart. Even though it's just a nose you're actually painting or drawing, there's energy there, there's the energy of the person in the flesh, if you like, and to sort of let that sort of come out, or to express this feeling of that person within the nose. It sounds strange. Just send this open heart energy to the reference image. This energy will come back and let it flow through your hands, and it becomes automatic. You just observe what you're doing. Now I'm showing you how I'm using the earbuds, just dabbing with it rather than rubbing with it. Just dab, just to subtly change those sort of edges around the details you've put in, because when you start using pencils it can create like sharp edges on the details, and you don't really want that. You need it sort of melting into the colours. So just a dab with it is the best way and the best approach I've found anyway with using one of these. Thank you so much for watching the video right till the end. I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It would mean so much to me, as this would help the channel to grow. Now, very interesting study, quite fascinating to use the sticks and then the pencils over the top. They look a bit cartoony when you first use the sticks, so you need a little bit of patience and just keep playing. It's all about having a go and playing with these things, and it's surprising what you can gain from it, because I do quite like how that's turned out. It's a lot subtler really. I mean, they're very similar in colour, but there's some qualities to that is different to that, which I'm weighing up now to how I'm going to approach my next portrait. But this is how we grow, you see. We've got to keep trying these new things. Now, if there's any comments at all, or let me know how you feel about this study, please leave a message in the comments section below this video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But in the meantime, if you want to watch any more of my work, please check out this video here. Take care, bye.